But, so at any rate, the egg is warm, coming out of the chicken's body, obviously, and it's moist from the bloom that the chicken applies to it. And because it's so warm and outside, as a contrast to that, obviously, it dries off like within seconds. That bloom, the excess moisture from the bloom evaporates, and it's drying on the shell and coating it. And so as it's drying, that's making that coating, seal up the pores of that egg. So it's pretty dang cool. But, typically when the hen is actually laying her egg, most of them like kind of stand up in a squatting position. Even though preparing to lay the egg, they're like, sitting, nesting. When they actually lay the egg, it's like they're standing up in kind of a semi-squatted position. And so, in fact, that's a position that hens use. We can tell when a young hen is going to begin laying because she will display that semi-squatted position. I guarantee you, like as soon as we walk away, right, she's going to lay the egg. So, well, it'd been nice to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen. So, I'll have to come back. She must not want an audience. Okay, so before we quit recording, we can go over and see the slow grower meat birds. Hey, let's just get along, okay? It's just Tuesday. It's just Tuesday. It's early in the week. Oh, friend, why you gotta be doing that? Okay, so she's one of the ones. We have 4 hens like her. They go in and out at will. As you can see, she cleared this fence no problem. They actually can clear that fence really, truly no problem. So anyway, okay, so it'll take a few minutes to walk down here to so this is, I guess this is my view as we're going between places at the home place. But it'll take a couple minutes to walk down here because I'm not 20 anymore, and I'm going downhill on a dewy morning. I wouldn't say it was quite frosty, but it was dewy. So I don't want to fall. I don't get up real fast anymore. Okay, so that back there in the back, the wood line, we don't have a lot of fall color there, but we do get change of season here, fall color in the trees. So you can see a little bit of that. That's the east side of our yard. Okay, so this is our meat bird barn. So that's where we started. Come full circle, right? So meat bird barn is a couple years old. My husband and sons built that. All of it, put it together. Okay, so right here. So I'm going to show you 4 unsuccessful meat birds. Well, we won't say unsuccessful, but these birds grew a lot slower than meat birds. So they were raised with a flock of 400, just like them, Cornish sharp cross meat chickens. They hatched on, let me think, September 4th, they hatched. Their flock was finished and went to processing at 41 days old on October 14th, 2024. And this is the 22nd, so about 8 days later. So they're about 49 days old now. Okay, so that's older than we'd ever keep any meat chickens. But these were slow growers. So even now, I mean, they're less than half the size of the birds that we took. Less than half the size of the birds at finish of what we would expect across the flock. So at this point, they're light enough and agile enough that we don't feel compelled to butcher them. There wouldn't be the quantity of meat on there that we would prefer. Now I do see these two, they're filling out a whole lot in the chicken breast faster than these two are. So these two may get to a point where some of their mobility is more awkward. That's just a posturing they do. They're not going to fight with each other. But see, see how this bird, like, you can tell the point of balance and the center of gravity is changing because there's a lot of meat being distributed to the chicken breast on that one. More so than, like, it's a different look than this one. This one still looks pretty balanced and obviously can do the scratching and pecking behavior with great ease. Okay, and that one is real agile still too, and this one's starting to be more like this one. So I guess at this point, if they reach a place where they're what we consider finished, where we can see there's a quantity of meat that makes them where they, you know, would be ready to be butchered, we would go ahead and do that. We do that here, and instead of these going to a processor and being part of the commercial operation where we're going to sell the poultry, we'll just harvest this meat for household. If they wouldn't get to that point for some reason, which, you know, you could just have a fluke, a random individual that is a slow grower or doesn't express the feed to meat conversion that we typically see in meat birds, well, you know, I guess I could keep them. If it was a rooster, though, there wouldn't be much point to keeping them. And I think in this situation, a couple roosters, a couple hens. So the hens, you know, we could keep them and see if they lay eggs. I don't know. I mean, they would lay eggs at some point eventually if you keep them long enough. That's the only reason most people never get eggs from quarter shot cross meat chickens, is because you butcher them at about 6 weeks and they're not mature enough to lay eggs at that point. So this one's staying there because it's still soaking up the warmth from the heat lamp. So they have plenty of food, plenty of water. And so the situation over on the other side of the barn, I'm at the south doorway. So you're looking at the north doorway half open, and we've got the feeders and waters empty, sitting there in groups. So all ready to go. So in fact, so closest to us, like with the colorful tops, are 5-gallon waters, and sitting to the right of them in the blue basket are the baby bird feeders. Then the metal, they're silver. I don't know if you can see that with the sunlight hitting them, but the metal tall cylinders there are 40-pound capacity feeders, and upside down in the top of them are our waters. So, and that's just posturing. They're not going to fight. They just posture like that. And this one is checking out what they're all into. So you can kind of see them moving. So they're just slow growers, but you know, they're thriving. They're doing well. Okay, so where those metal feeders are, there's a short scrapwood wall on the other side of it. So on the other side of that short scrapwood wall, we have 2 brooder spaces set up. So the one in the corner is where we're going to put the 125 meat birds, and the one directly ahead of us is where, and it is the width of the double doors. That's where we're going to put the Rhode Island red pullets that are coming in, 60 of them. So, you know, this will be a unique situation. We don't usually raise pullets in the same area and at the same time as we raise the meat bird flocks. So we'll actually record that and show that. We'll get to see actually the same age meat birds and egg birds, kind of side-by-side comparisons as they grow. So if y'all follow along, you'll actually get to see like the size difference at hatch, at a week old, at 2 weeks old, when we compare meat birds and egg production birds. So that'll be interesting. And I really don't know how long that situation, I'm going to turn the camera around. We really don't know how long that situation will last. We don't really know how long we'll be able to keep the egg bird pullets in the same space with the meat bird pullets. And it's a little bit of a question mark with these 4 slow growers, even because they're agile enough to go over top the short wall. So they actually, you know, they could agitate the meat bird chicks. So we're going to have to, well, we're going to talk about it tonight. We got to make some kind of decision with these. But we still want to keep these meat birds where they have access to, where we can run electric, so they can have access to a heat lamp, because they get cool if it gets in the 40s, as will the you know, the baby birds. And so we've actually got 4 heat lamps in each of their spaces for them. But you know, these, like I said, with these 4 unsuccessful meat birds, it's just they didn't have uniformity of growth with their flock, and there's no real good reason for me, if it's less than a handful of birds as a producer, there's no real good reason for me to take real small birds to the processor, because we pay the same amount to butcher every bird, whether we get, you know, 6 pounds of meat out of that bird or like 2 pounds of meat out of that bird. So, you know, this would be, if you process this little birdie now, like, that would be a tiny, 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 tiny little, it'd be like a Cornish hen size chicken. And we don't want that. That's when, in our operation, you know, we're producing, like, the finished bird in the freezer is like a 4.5 to 5 pound whole chicken is what we want. So, okay, so we're going to wrap this one up. Thanks for joining us. Chickens move in October 23rd, 2024, and we'll have the meat birds for 6 weeks. So follow along with those flocks to see how they grow, and follow along with us here at Twin Oaks Family Farm, just to be front row to, like, small farm life, to that experience and lifestyle. And hey, we really appreciate you supporting our channel, and what we hope is that ultimately you're inspired to source food from farmers, ranchers, and producers where you live, because consumers need agriculture, and agriculture needs consumers, and real, wholesome, delicious, nutritious food is produced by agriculture. So we hope that you'll seek it out, connect with it, and try to source your food as local as possible, close to home. It doesn't have to be trucked across the country. You can source it close to where you live. So thanks, y'all. God bless you.